All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining this inaugural episode of a Slice of BI podcast with me and David. I'm Nick. You've probably seen me on LinkedIn. My official job is head of data, AI, and business intelligence at a Microsoft consultancy in the UK. And David, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey, how you doing? David Johnston. I'm a Power BI developer, and I also work for a UK-based consultancy.
Nice. Okay, so in this episode, we're going to be talking about what's the BI developer role, or the role of different roles within BI going to look like in 5 to 6 years' time? How is AI going to affect those roles? We're going to be talking from a point of view of what we've seen in the industry, what we've experienced, um, what we're seeing from our customers, but also our own personal opinions as well. So I'll kick us off really and talk about what I'm seeing in the industry at the moment, how I'm seeing AI affect the BI role, or how I think it's going to affect the BI role going forward. Because obviously, AI is having a big effect on everything we do, but it's still within its infancy and it's still having not a major effect, I would say, on the BI role at the moment. Not that I'm seeing anyway. But what I'm seeing in the industry at the moment around the BI role and how I see it going over the next 5 years. So I'm seeing more of a shift towards the sort of the fully rounded BI developer. Maybe we could call it a BI engineer instead. And I'd like to get your opinion on this, David, when I pause for a minute. But when I say BI engineer, so typically, you've got your data engineers and your BI developers, okay, and your data engineers are doing all that, all the stuff in the background, all those pipelines, transformations, ETL, et cetera, et cetera. And then your BI developers, they're doing your report development, et cetera. But I'm seeing more of a need within organizations for what I would call the BI engineer. So this is more, they understand and they know how to build pipelines themselves. Okay, they may have come from a data engineering background, or they've worked very closely with a lot of data engineers in the past, but they also know how to build semantic models and build reports. So it's that kind of more full end-to-end role. And I'm seeing a much more of a demand from the kind of customers that I interface with and work with every day. But also I'm seeing it more within the job market as well. So I don't know, David, if you're seeing something similar or you've got a completely different experience to what I'm seeing at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to disagree with you, Nick, so you'll probably be pleased to hear that. But no, we'll all be out of the job in 5 years. So anyway, thanks, everyone.
End of podcast. There we go.
Yeah, no, I think you're right in terms of, I think Power BI developers now who just are maybe focused on the front end, I think are probably going to have to develop, data engineering skills as well. Because if you look at like a product like Fabric, I mean, obviously Microsoft were developing that knowing the approaching sort of environment with AI, etc. So I'm sure that was in their thinking for the sort of the new world ahead, etc. So Power BI developers who know how to create those data pipelines and the data engineering skills in the background, I think, will stand them in good stead. I think we know how important visualization and reporting is, but I think if you just sit in that space, then potentially you're limiting yourself to opportunities in the future as things get closer and closer. So yeah, I think there will be, like you say, a more rounded skill set, etc. and stuff. So
okay. So do you think, if you've been in this space, let's say the Power BI space for the past 12 to 18 months, or you're just getting into it now, do you think even though you're early into it, you need to already be looking beyond just being a report builder? Just putting visuals on a page?
Yeah, probably. I think, yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we're looking at 5 years and all those things. When you hear new forecasts and about how the data world's going to be, and they don't always turn out exactly how they've been foretold by the big data gurus, etc. But I mean, I think it's always great, I think, to have those back end skills, so to speak. To be able to produce SQL queries, etc., and jobs, and the different elements of data pipelines, etc. I think that's only going to be beneficial to you anyway. So I think, even just the understanding of it, being able to understand it and know how to ask the right questions. If you have got a specific data engineering team or a data engineer in your team. So being able to ask those questions and know what you're talking about is only going to be a benefit to you. So
yeah, I think that's a key point around. It's not knowing. You don't necessarily need to know how to do it. As a BI developer, you don't necessarily need to know exactly what buttons to click in whatever cloud platform it is that you're using to set up a pipeline, and you don't necessarily need to know how to write SQL and PySpark and etc. But having an understanding of it and where it applies, I think, is a good point. And it's a point around another kind of role that I see maybe coming to the fore as we move through the age of AI and things change. And it's obvious, isn't it, that part of our roles will get more and more automated. And I think, and that role is one maybe of like a data product owner or a report product owner, something like that. So some people that can talk more to the business and what the business requirements are. What was that? You flagged it earlier on, Baz. Was it Baz's comment that he said on LinkedIn recently around?
Yeah, I've got it here. It said,
Yeah.
what was it? Yeah. For AI to take over BI dev jobs, the stakeholders would have to accurately describe what they want first. Seems like we are safe for now. So
yeah, so I think there's probably an element of reality and truth in that.
Yeah.
We're not wizards. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't see what the future's going to look like. But from what I am seeing, I think that is still going to be a pertinent issue within the space, that stakeholders not entirely being able to say what they need in a way that could be interpreted to give them what they need. And there'll be people that still need to like sit in the middle, and that could be those sort of data product owners, report product owners, etc. And just going back to what I was saying, so that means those kind of roles you don't need to know how to build pipelines. You don't need to know how to do data engineering and write code, but you need to know where it fits and where it applies, where it shouldn't apply. You need to know how to talk to the business as well as talk to the data engineers or AI engineers, whoever it might be, within 5 years' time, and how you translate that. I think there will still be a need for that kind of middle ground. And also that a role as well that I think I kind of see myself more and more fitting into these days is around it's I'll call it a solution architect. Solution architects have been around for years and years, right? But I'll call it that. But it's more somebody that can sounds a bit cringy, but can sell the right solution to the business as well.
Yeah.
It's all well and good being a solution architect and saying, oh yeah, this will fit your need and stuff, but it's actually selling it to the business as well, and selling that cultural shift that they'll need within the business as well.
No, I mean, I think one of the things I think you said, like a solutions architect is probably going to be a very sort of powerful position to put yourself in, because I think being able to understand the solution that a client needs, a sort of bigger picture, etc., it's going to be, I think, it's something that the AI won't be able to do for quite a while yet, because you've got to have that business understanding, and to be able to conceptualize the solution that needs to be delivered. If there's you've got power apps, or what areas of things can you automate, etc., into your reporting solution, etc., or your workflows and stuff. I think someone who can position themselves as like a really great solutions architect, I think they'll be fine, etc., and stuff. So I think as we go back to the earlier point, I think there's a great book by a guy called David Epstein called Range, and it talks about people who become too specialized can sometimes pigeonhole themselves to an extent. So I think it's not saying you have to know SQL, PySpark, encode, Power Apps, Power Automate. You don't have to know all these things, in incredible detail. You don't have to be an expert in them all because it's too difficult anyway.
Yeah.
But being able to understand a breadth of those will position you in a fantastic way, because if you know certain things that can be done in Power Apps, but you don't quite know the ins and outs, it'll be quite easy just to find that out and tailor your solutions, etc. So I think having a range of skills and knowledge will be brilliant going forward and stuff. So
yeah, what's that phrase? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah,
so I think there is something to be said about specializing. We've just said that you should broaden your skill set so that you're prepared for the future. Now we're saying, actually, you know what, you should just focus on one thing. But I think there is something.
We never said this was going to be 100%.
Yeah.
Don't take everything we say as gospel. It's a discussion.
What we're doing is so when we hit that 5-year point, no matter what we've said now, we can go back and say, "Told you so," because we said we covered all bases.
We need to get a disclaimer up on the screen that just rolls along. It just says, please don't hold us to this. So.
Yeah. But I think there is something there to be said about specializing in something. Being an expert in something and not just okay, maybe good in a number of different things, perhaps.
Well, sorry, just interrupt. So, going back to that book, Range by David Epstein, that's what he talks about is that, okay, you have your Tiger Woods and stuff who specialize really early, and he is probably more of an outlier. But where you had people like, he's the example of Roger Federer, who played a lot of different sports when he was growing up. And, he got a lot of different things from them all. And when he decided that tennis was where he wanted to take his sports career, he felt he learned a lot from all the different aspects. So it's something similar. We're not saying don't have any specializations and try and learn as much things, because you've only got a certain amount of capacity to learn and retain information, or maybe that's just my slightly adult brain. But it's a question of, have your areas of expertise, but having a broad, a range of that as well will be fantastic. And there's a lot of studies showing that, actually having a range you can think in different ways. It's not means that you constantly think in a very blinkered fashion. It means that you're open to different solutions as well. So.
Yeah. So to change that phrase slightly, then, so jack of all trades, master of at least one. Maybe.
Yeah. Or two.
Or two.
Yeah. Or three.
Or just do all of them.
Yeah. Master them, forget it. Master them all again. So,
yeah. Remember, guys, we stand by.
I'm not getting any. I keep promoting that book. I'm not getting any money from the author.
We are not sponsored.
No, definitely not.
Yet.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's back on kind of how we kind of see maybe AI affecting the roles over the next kind of 5 years or so. So there was somebody posted on LinkedIn, which I commented on, and I comment on a lot of things. So I had to scroll very far to find this comment that I did make. But it was, it was a guy his opening comment was, "Are BI tools going to die out?" And he was, "I'm looking for everyone's opinion. Are they going to die? Will they be way less relevant now that code is easier to write with LLMs?" Well, if anyone's been keeping up with that saga around Replit recently, probably not. That because Replit just dropped and deleted this guy's entire database, even though he said not to.
Yeah, I did read a bit about that, saying how it's when it gets to when LLMs seem to be getting to a certain level of complexity, they just stop.
Yeah,
they just ignore it, or just
Yeah. I mean, I've going off on a tangent, but I've seen it when I've been using, ChatGPT and other models. If you after about sort of, let's say 40 minutes to an hour of conversing, it's like it cannot handle it anymore, and it just starts to like it's rocking back and forth in the corner saying leave me alone, you know. It just starts babbling. Okay,
it probably needs a break.
it probably needs a break. Yeah, I mean but that's the models now. I mean, you know, 5 years from now, that'll be a distant memory. You know, they're probably going to be, well, they will be a lot slicker than that and a lot more powerful. But this guy's comment where he said, you know, will they be way less relevant now that code is easier? So a similar question was asked on the Power BI subreddit recently, and it was a comment that kind of resonated with me, and I shamelessly took it to reply to this this LinkedIn post. And it just, I'll read a little bit of it, but it says around, you know, despite the hype around Gen AI and BI, for many organizations, it still is a distant prospect, if not entirely out of reach for the next 5 to 10 years. And they go on to say it's not really a technology issue; it's an organizational one. So I'll carry on. But tools like Power BI, Tableau, even SSRS and SAP Business Objects are still deeply embedded within organizations, and organizations have spent years building their models, building their governance processes, their business processes, reporting standards around these platforms that are deeply embedded. And in that comment, it goes on to say about a report found that over 35% of organizations still actively use SSRS, and around 20% still rely on business objects. Not sure where that study came from. My guess would probably be it was like a Forrester study or something like that. And it says, so while AI will eventually change many aspects of traditional BI, the transition will be slow, not because AI isn't ready, but because most businesses aren't. And I think that's a really good point, right? I mean, I think, you know, if you're watching this, I imagine you either already are a Power BI developer, you're getting into it, you've been doing it for years and years, or you just got a passing interest in it. But you've probably worked with people or with organizations who still run a huge amount of their business on Excel. And I'm not calling Excel legacy tool, but legacy tools as well, right? They're running their business on that. And just the mere thought of even implementing something like Power BI and a modern data platform is just that's 5 to 10 years away, right? They're just not. And I'm not talking, you know, your mum and pop shop outfits. I'm talking big enterprises. Yeah. So I know I've worked with some huge organizations, and I've worked with huge departments within those organizations. And I can tell you now, I've worked with some of them and they're still running on Excel 2003. Yeah. I've worked with an organization very recently that is a multinational, multi-billion dollar organization who are only just now implementing Power BI and are only just now moving across to Databricks. And adoption is slow, very slow. And I know it's become a cliche, but one of the main questions we do get when we demo the reports is, you've guessed it.
Can you get us in a Jumbotron?
And the Jumbotron will have Excel hiding. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah. So, can you export to Excel? I assume.
Can you export to Excel? That is because that is the embedded process within the organization.
Yeah.
And there are people within those organizations who you will have to pry Excel and their pivot tables out of their cold, dead hands. Yeah. So and I think this is part of not the danger, but I think part of the maybe a naive narrative. I told you this was going to get opinionated, but the naive narrative around AI and Gen AI within BI is that, you know, oh yeah, anyone's just going to be able to spin up a bit of Roo code in VS Code and start bashing out apps and start doing generative BI and stuff. And it's like, yeah, all right, that's great that you can do that. Now go and ask that enterprise organization with their legacy systems, legacy processes, and everything's deeply embedded, and they'll be like, no, it's not going to happen for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know, David, if you've ever been involved with like a data migration from like migrating ERP systems, but you know, when you start these projects, people are like, yeah, this is gonna make everything great. It's gonna revolutionize everything. It's gonna fix all our issues. Never does. And it's not as simple as that. You know, you're not just going to plug in AI and bash, off you go. Every exec in the business is going, predict for me what my best selling product is going to be. It's not going to happen overnight, and I don't think it's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think firstly, I'm going to defend Excel because it is just that was my first. Excel is amazing. But unfortunately, it's used by people who aren't very well trained on it because it's free in your on your computer. Most companies give people no training or it's optional training. I think Excel of 10 years ago is dead. Excel now with Power Query, Python, dynamic arrays and stuff is a far, far more modern and powerful tool with Let and Lambda and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But then, if you're still using VLOOKUPs and stuff, and that's where if you haven't updated your Excel skills in the last 5-6 years, then you're even further behind. But anyway, your point around data migrations and stuff, and yeah, I've been on this sort of the other end, waiting for the new amazing data, and then finding that there's lots of problems with the data and stuff, or you go, well, what about this sort of instance, or what about this? And you're like, oh, we forgot about that. Okay, we can't do that now, so we're gonna have to do a fudge, or we'll create an Excel table that converts, that has a list, and all, we'll bring that in, and there's all sorts of things. So I think the era of big data was going to solve all our problems. Yet we're still like 10 years on from that. We've still got massive problems around data quality, data literacy.
But it's the same. I mean, I won't. I'm not going to call myself an old hat in this industry, but I've been in it about 15 years now.
Oh, you're an old hat then.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right. But it's the same. We're saying the same things still, and I've got into, let's call them, discussions with people online and in real life around this. Particularly, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know that I'm big around UI and UX and creating app and web-like experiences within Power BI, etc.
Oh, really?
Have you not noticed?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Make sure you do follow me then.
All right, I will do.
And of course, people push back on that, as they should, and often it's pushed back with, the data comes first, and the data quality comes first, and etc. And
you love a good discussion anyway.
Yeah, discussion. I agree with that. But we've been, like, since I started in my career in data 15 years ago, we've been saying the same thing. We've been saying it's the data quality, it's the data structure, it's the platform we use, etc. You've got to get the data right, you've got to get the governance right. We keep saying it. We're still. Why is it not getting better? Apparently we've got all the tools. Apparently cloud is going to solve everything, but we're still saying the same things. Where's this magic bullet that's going to finally fix it all?
I mean,
I started off in, using, I was in SAP, and then SSIS, and etc. And a bit of Oracle as well. And it was all around data quality and fixing data quality issues. And I think I would say that we've made it ever so slightly faster to fix data quality issues. We haven't resolved data quality, and we keep talking about this, like, this is it. We're gonna solve it. Where we keep talking about it. Where is it?
But I mean, the whole thing is like, if companies race towards AI and they've still got massive data quality issues, etc., potentially AI could just be making things worse, because there's that whole thing about how people place inherent trust in AI and they don't question it. So okay, we know that AI is at its worst at the moment today. It will be better tomorrow, and it'll be better the next day. So, who knows where we'll be in 5 years? But I mean, I guess that's why we're here. But can it make things worse? Will people just, will they just write a prompt into their Gen, AI tool? Apologies if I'm not using the right phrases, but if they just write a prompt and they just, take it as gospel. But I mean, they might be asking the wrong question. Someone else wants to ask the same thing.
Yeah.
But the way they ask the question gives a slightly different answer, because they maybe know the nuance of the data in the background a bit better and stuff. So it's, I don't know, is it pouring, petrol on a fire already and stuff, trying to put it out? Is it, I don't know.
I mean, I've got maybe a slight example of this from today. So I was, I wrote quite a long measure DAX in Power BI earlier today, and I did it the very lazy way where I did absolutely zero formatting as I was typing it out. Right, that's all the best devs do that. You just type it in one long line and then you hit format.
I'll be throwing things at you if you did that.
So I asked Copilot on my machine. I said, "Can you just format this DAX for me?" It formatted it, popped it out. I pasted it into Power BI, into my measure, and it stopped working. The visual went blank. So hang on a minute, it was working a second ago. So I went back to Copilot and I said, "Did you change any of this code?" And it said, "Yes. In one of your variables, it was called like price effect or something, and I saw that you were using a value from the table that didn't have price in the name. So I changed it." Why? I didn't ask you to. But that was on me, right? I took what it said verbatim. I trusted it to output it. I put it into my model. And what would have happened if, and this is a learning lesson for me, what if it had output that code and it worked, but it was the wrong, but it made that measure now show the wrong number, and I just trusted it, even though I'd written the measure originally and I knew it was correct, it could have changed it ever so slightly and still resulted in a number coming out, but that number was now incorrect.
You might not have noticed it.
Well, I wouldn't, because let's be honest, I was being lazy. That's why I went to Copilot and asked it to format it, because I was being, I wasn't being lazy. I was speeding up my workflow. Yeah,
being productive.
Being productive.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's kind of like, well, if you don't check your measure, you put, like you say, you put it in and you don't test it properly, everyone's been in that situation where they're against pressure for time, etc., and they put it in, they think, bang, okay, they put it in. It's that whole thing where, further down the line, that measure becomes a problem because you didn't think out some of the other possibilities, etc. Or there's another measure elsewhere that you didn't take into account. So when it's on your screen, then the numbers are just not working together as they should do, because you've just outsourced it. Because that's the thing. I mean, you mentioned earlier about, will AI lower the barrier to people coming to Power BI? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But then does it, someone who's very, very experienced in Power BI with Power Query and DAX and stuff, that doesn't make them at the same level, of understanding, etc. So I think experience, definitely helps, and having maybe that specialism is ideal, because you could, if you trust AI too much, you can get in a whole world of pain and stuff. So there'll still be a place for those experts who know how to optimize a model, make your DAX far more, efficient, formatted properly. So I don't know. There's all sorts of things that could get thrown in the mix and stuff. It's slightly the Wild West at the moment, almost.
Yeah, and maybe that will be part of the evolution of that BI dev role. That will need to be, we'll need to QA and guide AI output more, and not just accept it ourselves, but ensure that the businesses we're working with don't just accept it as well. If it's going to speed up workflows, and it's going to make people more productive, and it's going to open up, what's that phrase, democratize BI and data for executives,
Yeah.
then maybe BI devs become the AI police,
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's a fair point. Is that I know we've done it ourselves where we allow or we give access to super users in the business to build off. What's the phrase? What's the word they use for a data set that's been signed off in Power BI again?
Oh, yeah. This word always leaves my brain. Yeah, that one.
If anyone in the chat can help us,
Just help us out.
please.
Yeah, it's late. It's late.
Yeah. And we give them access to that, and then they start to build out a report, or try and learn how to build a report themselves, and they want to have some different views. And then what they do is they'll come to us and they'll say, right, I would like this report, but can you sense check it? Can you apply your style guidelines if they've gone a bit rogue and stuff, so it doesn't look completely out of the world. So was it endorsed? They said David Weatherspoon said endorsed.
No, I can't believe I can't remember it now.
Anyway, yeah, we need AI to help us, but yeah, so potentially, like you say, yeah, it might be, people. But I mean, you're saying that someone building a report. I mean, well, there'll probably be less need for reports potentially in the future, but it might be, I still think there'll be a need for a unified view somewhere, but we're more, like you say, some of the stuff you talk about is it certified? Andrew K.
It's one of the two, isn't it? It's one of the two. I can't. We shouldn't. We're showing amateur hour here, but yeah.
I'm more than happy to display.
I'm sure somebody in the chat will let us know what it is in a minute.
Yeah. I've sort of lost my thread now, which is I can't remember what I said now, so that's great. Hallucination. Yeah, so I mean, like, that's it. How you talk about widgets and stuff, etc., and having not everything needs to be a report. So, someone who's working in I don't know, let's say just some sort of production factory, whatever, they may just need to, see how what production capacity is sitting at. They don't need to see a report showing everything. They might just have a little widget that sits on their screen that pops up when things drop within 5% of certain levels, etc., and stuff. So then, so there may be stuff like that, I guess. So
yeah, and that's made me think actually that.
Wait a minute, the brains of the operations have turned up. Stephen Fail and NJ have said promoted dataset. I think it is promoted.
What is it? Yeah,
it is promoted.
It's one of the two.
Well, they've both said promoted.
I'm gonna have to log on later and have a look.
Yeah,
maybe that just says that none of my data models have ever been certified or promoted.
Yeah,
they've all been rubbish.
Let me know when you get the first one. That'd be a great day.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So what you were saying there, that's made me think that there's quite a lot that actually that is capable within the BI space and the Power BI space, but we still aren't really. I was going to shut my window. We aren't really still not taking full advantage of it. So let's think about, Power BI mobile, Power Apps across businesses. And I know some businesses, lots of businesses have very mature Power App setups, but there are areas of BI that we're still not taking full advantage of. Like I say, like mobile, like notifications, pop-ups, there's things like you can use. I'm sure you can use Microsoft Graph API to make toaster pop-ups on your desktop, etc., etc. So there's areas where we can look as BI devs over the coming years to not just create dashboards, with your 5 KPIs and your 4 charts, but actually creating different experiences for users. Like, I keep banging on and on about widgets and stuff, right? And I've created a lot of them, and I've created a solution that allows you to have them on your desktop. And the next thing I'm looking at is having the toaster pop-ups on your desktop. And then when you get a notification, you get the little bell in the bottom right hand corner, you click it and it opens up a panel. So actually having a mini visual or a widget actually within that panel based on what that notification was. So there's things that we can look to exploit more and more as Power BI devs over the coming years. But will AI beat us to the chase? Will it make those things that we've not actually utilized yet redundant anyway? So I'm saying about utilizing mobile more, utilizing Power Apps more, notifications more. Well, a question to you, David, and this you'll have to base this probably on opinion. Is it going to negate those things? Because actually, your boss will be able to just ask a chat bot what the number is.
Yeah, potentially, but then, yeah, but it's that whole thing about data literacy and visual literacy as well. It's they ask a number, and it's like, well, okay, but then what's the context? So, I mean, I don't see it being where someone just basically logs on and they just ask all the questions themselves and they understand it. It's that whole thing about. I mean, I think Steve Wexler says it great. It's like, a dashboard's not a good place to tell a story, but it's a great place to find one. So, so if you ask a number, then, say, well, what's the production number for yesterday? And then, I suppose you type, well, why was it lower yesterday? Why was it so low yesterday? Then you get a basic answer, etc. You need to ask the right questions. Do they say, well, it did drop by X amount, and it's like, well, is that usually in the usual sort of bound of variance? Is it is that just a normal variance we're seeing? Yesterday was a poor day, but actual fact, that's nothing really to be too concerned about, etc.
And that's something. I will butcher his surname, but Nick DeBretas. Is that Debratz, that's it.
I'm telling you pronounce it terribly.
Yeah, and that's something he talks about. It's true. When we create dashboards, we're putting it's up 5% or it's down 6%, and it's like if you're looking at the report, it's like it's down 6%. Oh my god! But actually, if you drill into the detail, you're still 15% up compared to the last quarter or the last month. It's just down 6% from the day before, but it's not a catastrophe. Yeah. And will AI be able to give you that context if you're not asking the right question? And that, again, that probably goes back to, will the BI dev role turn into an AI QA, or part of the role will be AI QA, policing the outputs from the AI for businesses,
Yeah. No, I mean, MJ's made a good comment there, just saying
endorsed.
Yeah, endorsed. Yeah,
is that what it was? It's endorsed, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it is that. Yeah. Okay.
I said that earlier, but you just
did I ignore you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Just ignore me again.
Oh, again. Sorry.
I think that would you be typing the copying and pasting the same questions every day and stuff? Probably not. You may have like a preferred questions tab that potentially sits off you, and you just press it and it brings the things up, and then I don't know, you create preferred views and preferred visuals, etc. and stuff and all that. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes it's scary, and other times it can be like, there's hope for us yet, I think. So,
But okay, so like just to change to not change the topic, but to go to a different part of the topic. So what's your thoughts about the possibility of AI removing the junior path into BI now? Because in the UK, and I can only speak from the point of view of the UK, but I'm sure it's affecting probably every country around the world. But graduates getting into the workforce now are finding it really difficult because those roles, for a number of different reasons, but one of the reasons is AI, those roles are being replaced by AI.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts around AI, removing that junior role or that junior path into BI?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a really difficult one. I mean, at the moment, there isn't really. I mean, I would say certainly in the UK, there's probably not that. It's not been removed yet because what you've talked about is the issue around a lot of companies are not really ready for AI, etc., and stuff and all that. So I mean, loads of companies are starting off in their sort of BI journey and stuff. So I think probably one of the issues is around probably the UK economy. To be honest, I think it's a poor job market. Full stop. I think so. I don't think we're really seeing the influx of AI yet having a big impact across the board yet. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's there yet. I mean, okay, there's been a lot of layoffs at Microsoft and stuff, but then, some people are putting that down to them over hiring during the pandemic and stuff and all that. But if a company is set up to be able to take advantage of AI, then, you would imagine it's companies like Microsoft, etc., and stuff, and Facebook. But I don't think that pathway is blocked or we're feeling the effect at the moment because, unfortunately, I think the UK is quite famously, we're probably lagging behind in the tech sector to an extent, in terms of technology and stuff, certainly in technology investment and stuff from the government and training and stuff. So, but in the future, potentially, yeah. I mean, you hear a lot of talk that, people saying, well, AI is going to be your it's going to be your thought partner. It's going to be your what's the phrase? My mind's gone blank. It's obviously because I've worked so incredibly hard all during the day today. If anyone from my company is listening, there may be other jobs that potentially spring out of AI, etc., and stuff. So is everything going to be automated? But then is it going to be there's going to have to be an element of checking, etc., and stuff. And potentially, does it mean that there is more time for working on creating proper data governance, data quality strategies, data cleaning, etc., and stuff, and all that? Is it going to create different opportunities? But yeah, I don't think the pathway is gone at the moment. Definitely not. Are we seeing the effect of it? Potentially,
Yeah, and this is my opinion. This is not, I think there are organizations, not just in the UK but globally, that will implement AI by hook or by crook. Okay.
Yeah.
Make of that what you will.
Shareholder value. Well, your biggest cost is
shareholder value. Yeah. Okay. They're going to do it by hook or by crook.
Yeah.
But I think the reality is, I think over the next kind of 5 years, I don't personally see that junior BI role being replaced. I think it will change.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think to go back to what I was saying a minute ago, I think it will be more. There'll be more around that AI QA and governance bit. Like a junior will have to get into that early, on their career path. But I don't think it's going to be changed. I mean, Injay's just put a comment in saying the onus is on companies to replenish seniors who exit. And so at some point it'll be cheaper to just train juniors and look for only seniors. And I think that's a good point, because those organizations that will just replace their junior staff with AI, well, how are you going to replace those seniors with all of that knowledge, all of that company knowledge and industry expertise and tech expertise, if you're not hiring anybody at that junior level to, make their way up the business and learn all that stuff?
Yeah.
You're going to end up with a completely depleted resource, or we're going to end up in the, I don't know if you've seen the film Idiocracy. We're going to end up just like, I recommend you watch it. It draws parallels with our timeline right now. But if anyone's watched it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But is that how we're going to end up? Just a world of unintelligent people.
But sometimes I think we're there already. Don't worry about that. Maybe I'm moving in the wrong circles.
But I think short to medium term, I don't see that AI. I don't see that junior path into BI being taken away or blocked or anything like that. I think it will change, but I think it will slowly and progressively change. But I think, and actually, I'm going to go back to that comment I was talking about earlier, the one that I put on LinkedIn. And it was the one where I said about organizations spent years embedding all of these sort of what we would call legacy processes and stuff. But part of that comment as well was that then they're not set up for the cultural shift, the trust gap that AI leaves, or the foundational data quality. But we've spoken about that, so I won't go over it again. And I actually added a little bit around that where I said, and I could be completely wrong on this, but I said, and I feel like this is why Microsoft hasn't made particularly aggressive moves to overhaul Power BI around AI, because they don't need to, at least not yet. And the reason for that, I believe, is because their enterprise customers are not demanding it. Now, I work with a lot of enterprise-sized customers, and they are asking for AI and machine learning. A lot of them are, but they're not coming to me and saying, "Oh, why can't I just do that in Power BI?" What they're saying is, "Can you create me a machine learning model that predicts when my packaging plant or my packaging machine is going to fail and need maintenance, because if it goes down for an hour, I lose 100 grand in revenue. I want a model that tells me that." And okay, so we create that model, and where do we visualize it? Power BI.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so I don't, and again, I could be completely wrong. I don't move within the Microsoft inner circles. I don't know. It could be just that they're being very slow, but I don't see that their enterprise customers are demanding it from them, and most aren't really ready to adopt that anyway, because they're still, the ones that are doing it, but they're still just scratching the. Machine learning isn't new. It's been around a long time.
Yeah,
I think the boom of AI and the hype around AI has just moved the needle quite far, where they're like, "Oh, cool, let's do that then," But it's been there for a long time. They've been able to do it for a long time. So changes will come. But it's not going to happen quick, I believe, and it won't happen everywhere. And the reason why I say it won't happen everywhere is to go back to an earlier point where I was saying around, there are lots and lots of organizations of all different sizes, from tiny little ones to massive ones, that are still using SSRS and are still using business objects. And I was working, it was last year, but there was an organization in the UK, and unfortunately I'm not allowed to name names, but they were still running their entire distribution business on Access. So yeah, it's going to happen, but it's going to be slow, and it's not going to happen everywhere. That's my opinion. Yeah.
I think, like you say, there's companies are not just going to rip out Power BI and say, right, we're moving to a prompt world. We just ask the data all the questions. Can you imagine the chaos in that, the stuff that will get produced, and people asking crazy questions that, when they don't even understand their own business that well, they don't understand the interactions and stuff. So so It's not disappearing tomorrow or that soon, but it will change. I mean, like you say, going back to the point about graduates now, etc., and stuff. But then I suppose maybe the kids who are coming through secondary school now, who are maybe who are using AI and ChatGPT, these things already, it becomes just normal for them. It's just like it's like how you see a toddler who just picks up a tablet. They automatically know how to use it because they just copy people. It's going to
I saw a video a while back, and this dad handed their little girl a Game Boy Advance, and immediately she just started poking the screen. That's what they know, That's what they do.
So learned behavior. So I guess it's kids coming through, younger ones who are using AI a lot now already. They'll be in a great position, etc. But then it's like, in terms of the next 5 years, things will change. Like you say, probably not. It's not going to be like you turn up for work the next day and it's all gone. But it's going to be. There'll be some things that will come quickly than others. But is it going to lead to mass unemployment at the moment? Probably not. Don't quote me, but I mean, who knows? But to go slightly larger and stuff, and just maybe sort of, if AI replaces everyone's jobs, who's going to buy the products for the companies that run on AI? But there's a question to finish on, So
and maybe I think like my kind of, it's kind of, we've gone over time slightly, so we'll start to wrap it up now. But I think my final point or bit of advice, especially if you're watching and you're still, you're a junior and you're getting into the space, or maybe you've got, you're seeing comments online across LinkedIn, etc., that kind of get you worried about the future of your role and stuff. Because I'm seeing a lot of quite a few comments these days, from it's people doing some cool stuff with LLMs and AI and chatbots, and and there are some platforms popping up that allow you to do Gen AI, and you get these comments where they go, "Oh, Power BI's cooked," it's all it's dead, it's all over, blah blah blah. Well, one, it's number one in the market. That's not going to change overnight. That's not going to. They're not going to cease. It's not going to cease to exist. It's not going to be cooked overnight.
Yeah,
but also
it might go in preview, so we're good for at least 4 to 5 years.
They still need to release the shape map into GA, so we're still waiting for that. So we're good. But also, I think something to look at when you see these kind of comments. Look at who they're coming from. Okay, look at potentially who are these people working for. What is their business? Because what you'll find is a lot of them are involved in organizations that are AI startups that are pushing Gen BI, or some other kind of AI startup, or that's their job. They sell AI solutions and stuff. So they're not so they're coming from maybe not the that's not that they're acting in bad faith, but it's not that they're a bit biased. Okay, and that's
or they in a crazy world, they could just be engagement farming, trying to controversial comment on
but it's very easy to get caught up in the hype. If you find this stuff interesting anyway, and you're messing about with it in your own time, and you do manage to spin up an LLM that gets to, you can generate some cool visuals on it. That's cool. That's really cool, man. So you're going to be like, yeah, traditional BI is cooked. Look what I just did. You get excited about it. But then if you're that person, you stop and think, oh, I wonder if I could deploy this across my employer's business. No, probably not. They're not going to let
I wouldn't need to apply any security to this product.
I forget that.
Fine. What could possibly go wrong? But I mean, someone actually who'd be a great guest is a friend of mine, Gus Reyes. Sorry, Gus, if I butchered your name. He's not only a connoisseur of fine dance music like myself, he also works in training space and skills development. And he says that his comment, I think it's slightly down now. Where is it? Yeah, 63% of organizations are seeing the skills gap in data literacy as the main barrier. That's not going away,
Yeah.
So, I mean, can your AI prompt that you go into can explain it for you, but doesn't mean you understand it.
That doesn't mean your data. I mean, that number's probably going to get worse then. If the younger generation becomes more and more dependent on AI to tell them how to think.
I'd love it. Just just an example of just someone it puts out a whisker and box plot to someone, and here you go, and they just see their face just melt and just turn the laptop off and go home. But so I don't know. I mean, it's been certainly interesting. I mean, I'll be honest to say that sometimes I do get the fear, about what the job market's going to look like in a few years, etc., and stuff and all that as well. But I think sometimes, you can plan for the future, but I don't think, if you, I mean, a great book by James Clear, James Clear's book, it's going Atomic Habits. I mean, it talks about, if you dedicate, some of your time every day to learning, then that's a good place to be in. So, I think people look at the big picture and it's quite scary, but, you can't eat an elephant in one go. So, you just got to take little chunks at it, keep and try and improving your skills.
Yeah.
There's lots of great data platforms out there to enhance your Power BI reporting, your data visualization skills, your data literacy is, so just keep applying yourself to just try and improving yourself a bit every day.
Yeah.
And that'll go a long way. And things will change. Follow good people on LinkedIn or bad people if you want to have an argument. And, just keep, don't shy away from it. Just try and keep abreast of how
be aware. Be
just
aware.
Be informed. Don't hide away in your little office under the stairs that's got one window and a big fan. Hey.
This is where the magic happens, all right?
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm glad you said that. That was about your office. But so stay informed, follow good people.
Yeah.
And try and keep improving every day. You'll be fine.
Yeah. No, I agree. So you've heard it here first from me and David. You're going to be all right. We don't see any major changes at the moment. Things will change, obviously, but I think we've both kind of come to the conclusion that within this space, we don't see any kind of mass layoffs or huge changes over the next kind of 5 years or so. But, advice is keep informed and keep aware of the changes that are happening and make sure that you're ready to kind of pivot to whatever those changes may be. And like David said, make sure you're following the right people, and, people that are going to be good and give advice and people that are kind of in the industries that you're interested in, and they're going to be sharing content that tells you the changes within that, etc.
Well, it'll all be fine in the end. And if it's not the end.
There you go. Yeah.
Sage saying.
Cool. All right. So we'll wrap it up there. Next time we're going to have Juliana Smith on, who's going to be talking about accessibility within Power BI reports. So do keep an eye out for that piece of promo that we're going on LinkedIn and the event, etc. So hopefully you'll all be able to attend that one as well. But yeah, thanks for attending this inaugural episode. It's our first one. It's the first time I've ever done one of these as the host. I've done a few where I've been a guest, but it's the first time I've actually been a host. So obviously David is going to be a regular fixture on these, be part of the furniture on these webcast podcasts, whatever you're going to call them or whatever, going forward.
And I'll just say it's the first time I've ever got Nicholas to do everything for this setting up. Yeah.
First time.
So it's the first time I've got you to do everything for me, so it's fine. You told me when and where, so it was easy.
You just turned up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fine.
All right, good stuff. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Thanks everyone.